Hi. So I've been getting a ton of questions about my post the other day about how people make decisions and like following your intuition and how we're all kind of designed to have our own decision-making process. And it was about toilet paper, right? That post. I've been getting a ton of questions on it because I mentioned human design in there. And I asked people what their design was, especially from my friends. Like, they know me as like a very strategic person. I love math. I love when things make sense. I love when things have one answer. And I'm very strategic when it comes to like my business and stuff. So when people saw me like mentioning the human design, they're like, what are you doing? Are you gonna go run off into the woods and start making potions? And that's not what this is. I'm also getting an influx of my friends, and I have friends like all over the world, and all over the United States, because I do run my business online and I'm able to make those connections and make friends, not necessarily just local to me that I've known for years. I'm meeting new people all the time. And some of these girls have been reaching out to me asking me about their design. I would be sending them these voice clips, kind of explaining what little parts of it mean, so that they can like take it in with bite-sized pieces, because it is a lot. When you pull up your chart, it looks like a lot. And I've been kind of explaining, I pull their chart, I explain tiny parts of it, and every single time, I'm not even kidding, they are like, oh my gosh, like, how did you even know that about me? We've never even met in person, like, we've never even chatted on the phone, and like, you know, it's just, and I'm just reading stuff from their chart, so it's like very detailed and very accurate. So my explanation for somebody that's being first introduced to human design is like, it looks like astrology on crack, because you're entering your birthday, you're entering the time you were born, and you're entering the city you were born in. If you're anything like me and very logical and very strategic with how you do business or life or whatever, and you're like, there's no freaking way that this chart would know anything about me just by entering my birth information. Plus, you know, the horoscopes that we are so used to, you know, because if somebody asks you what's your sign, you most likely know what your sign is, right? I'm a Libra. Okay, I've been a Libra since middle school, because that's when like it was cool to read the horoscopes in Cosmo to see if I would get a boyfriend that week or whatever the heck it was. That's the kind of astrology or horoscope thing that I'm used to. When you're like entering your birth information, like that's what pops up for you, right? So when I was first introduced to it and I was entering my birth information, I was like, oh great, like it's like another birth chart, a cute little horoscope, that's nice. So that's how I looked at it, right? But the thing about generic horoscopes that you read in Cosmo and stuff, they basically divide all of humanity into 12 different boxes. That is why, if you know, you're a Libra and I'm a Libra and we're sitting in a room full of like Libras, none of us are going to be the same. There's no freaking way. That is why I kind of discredited the whole idea of horoscopes and like birth charts and stuff, because like none of the horoscopes that I have ever read like fully attained to who I was. It was very unrelatable. It didn't resonate with me. So when I was like pulling up my chart in human design, I just thought it was one of those other things, right? It was like a little alarming when I pulled it up, like how accurate it actually was. Okay, so as horoscopes divide humanity into 12 different signs and write little blurbs about those people that are supposed to fit all, it doesn't make sense, of course, because people are so incredibly and uniquely different and crafted in their own way, in their own beautiful way. So it's like, why would a one little blurb about an entire group of people make any sense, right? So what human design does is, instead of like dividing humanity into 12 different categories, it actually looks at the individual and looks at like, I think it was 64 or 72 different things about this specific individual. So it's very, very detailed. And I think that's part of the reason why it's so accurate when you're reading it, right? And that's the feedback that I've been getting from literally every single person, 100 out of 100 that I have talked to about this specific chart. But like I said, I'm a very logical and strategic person, right? But my decision-making process never made any sense to me, okay? Because I never made a pros and cons list like a strategic person would do. I never like asked the opinions of other people like a well-rounded strategic person would do. I just like, I felt my gut say yes, and I was like, yep, that's what I'm doing, or nope, I'm not doing that, or like, yep, and then I'm like going after what it is that I want and I get it, right? I don't know, like, it didn't make any sense to me. I was kind of like self-conscious in that fact. I'm like, why do I make decisions this way? There's no logic or rhyme or reason behind it. And it's just like not how I do anything else. But then I pulled up my chart 2 years ago and it said right there on the first page, like, this is how you were designed to make decisions. And I was like, oh, that's really nice to know. And like, I kept it in the back of my mind. It was something that interested me. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I was validated at that very second when I pulled up my chart. I was like, yes, that's how I make decisions, right? So I kept it in the back of my mind, and I noticed that whenever I followed my gut for an instinctual decision, everything just flowed smoothly and it was easy. And I noticed that whenever I like stopped to try to place logic into whatever it is that I was doing, or like, oh, maybe I shouldn't make this decision this way because it might offend somebody, or wait, I'm afraid of what this person would think of me if I made this decision. And then I let like those kinds of like stop and think kind of influences affect me, and I went the other way. That's when things felt hard, it was hard, or bad things happened. And I took note of like, okay, I'm saying my gut to shut up. And that was like the toilet paper example. That was like a silly kind of surface level example, but that's just how things work for me, right? When I'm talking to my friends about these things, they're like blown away because this chart has articulated and put into words things about themselves that they were never to articulate, if that makes sense. Like if you have like tendencies or things that make you tick, or some things piss you off more than others and you're not sure why, this like chart kind of puts it into words. And you're like, oh my God, like I wasn't even able to like call that out on myself, but this chart did. Like, how the heck does it do that? So it's like you're looking in a mirror, like you know what's there, but it gives it a name, it gives it a space, and it like allows you to be like, okay, like it's not an accident that I am this way. Like this is how I was designed. How it kind of helps you like accept everything about you, and then look inward to make shifts that might help you on like the outside, if that makes sense. So if you're anything like me, you're constantly trying to, you know, what else can I do today to be a better person than I was yesterday? That's kind of my thought process. If you're anything like me, you're constantly looking for ways to level up. And like I said, I was so strategic normally in the way that I do things that I didn't even think to look at this when I hit this struggle or this wall that I kept running into as far as like business goes. I was like, it's not the people. We have brilliant people and they're in the right positions, right? Emerging leaders are emerging beautifully. It's amazing. Everything's working here. It's not the people. It's not the strategy. The strategy is very smart. Strategy is very specific, and it's it's designed to work perfectly, and it's not the events. Like everything was like all of the stars were supposed to align, but it didn't. It started feeling really hard, and it started feeling like I had this huge weight on my shoulder. Like I was trying to rush through it and just get it over with so the pressure was gone. And this thing that we were trying to accomplish was supposed to be like something that's like celebrated, right? It's a huge goal. It's a massive goal. A massive business goal. $250,000 in 1 month for one business to do is a massive goal. So it should be celebrated and not like something that should be rushed, force, and get it over with, if that makes sense. So when I looked at the whole strategic part of it and it didn't make sense, and I was like mad. I was mad that things weren't like happening because everything was aligned for it to happen, but it didn't quite get there. And it was the same thing for like 3 months in a row. So it's like, okay, I need to look further because I'm a problem solver. Okay. I don't sit there and wallow in self-pity. I get sad for like a second and then I get out of it and I'm like, okay, what else? What's next? What else can we do to make this happen or to fix this problem or whatever? I'm a doer. I'm a problem solver. That's like how I get through life. And I was like searching for resources that, could give me different perspective. I was searching for like different strategies that I could implement and all this stuff. And it led me to this astrology on crack. And I did another eye roll. I was like, oh my God, there's no way that this is going to help me right now. But my gut was like, yeah, it is. The universe was like, they're sending you all this information. Just freaking look at it. So, I followed my gut and I was like, okay, I'll look at it. Right there on my profile, it told me you're not acting within your design of your soul when you're trying to rush things and get things over with to relieve pressure. And I was like, You're like, you gotta be kidding me. So like, yeah, that was right there, and I dove deeper into it, and it made me look inward. Like, I know what my gifts are, and I know what my struggles are. So let's look inward and try to work on my struggles so I can level up and become like a better leader and a better human being in general, so that, you know, this goal is going to come easily with flow, and I'm not trying to like climb up a vertical wall. So that's what I started doing. It gave me perspective on the problem. It gave me permission to accept the things about me that I struggle with, and also gave me permission to own my gifts. So it's kind of like enlightening in that aspect. Okay, it doesn't have to be like you're following your horoscope so you get your man kind of a thing. It just can be some kind of guiding tool to look inward and see if there's any shifts that you can make within yourself to make everything else on the outside world work out for you, because that's ultimately how you make change in your life. The biggest thing you can work on is yourself. If you want to improve literally everything else in your life, you look inward, right? You don't play the victim and do the pointing thing like it was their fault or this happened to me, so I am the victim of my circumstances. Like, you don't do that if you want to improve your life. When you want to improve your life, you take responsibility for everything that happens, everything that goes on, and everything that you do. So then when you want to level up, you look inward. So this was like just a way to look inward to see if there's anything you can tweak. I'm not saying that this is a Bible that you need to follow or whatever. And if you're one of those people that are like kind of weary about like birth charts or energies of the universe. Okay, so look at it this way. Have you ever been to a ER on a full moon? Have you ever talked to like a police officer, first responder, anybody that has worked in ER at a full moon? People go crazy when it's a full moon. It's like a superstitious thing almost, but it's like incredibly accurate, because for some reason the full moon ignites some kind of freaking weird thing in front of people and they go crazy. And any healthcare professional, any first responder will tell you, yeah, full moons are like the worst nights to work. There's that. And you also like can feel when somebody walks into a room just radiating with positive energy. You're like, oh, I love her, I want to be her friend. You know, you feel that. And then when somebody comes in and they have this like negative energy and it's weird, and you're like, oh, that person's creepy, like I'm not going to talk to them. You know, you feel it, right? You feel that energy. That's my 2 cents. There is energy flowing throughout the universe. You emit an energy, and you also absorb people's energy in a certain way. So this is just like kind of a helpful guide to see how you interact with people, how you absorb energies. If there's any legitimacy to it and you implement the things that it tells you to do, your life should get easier. And what the heck is wrong with your life getting easier? There's no downside to it. You know, it was so weird how much it made sense to me and like the current struggles that I was facing as far as like trying to level up. And it gave me clarity, and it allowed me to look inward to see what the blocks were. Because if you're holding on to something that doesn't serve you, or holding on to something that takes up energetic space, and you don't learn to let it go, you're not going to ever make room in yourself to receive better things. It's helped me in that aspect. So, you know, when people are messaging me like, Lisa, you're a whole different vibe lately, like what is going on with you? And that's what's going on with me. I'm developing my gifts, and I am being aware of the things that I struggle with, and I'm letting go of things that I have no control over that's taking up energetic space, so I can make room for better things that are coming my way. Okay, so and this chart helped me do that, and as well as my coach. My coach is amazing. Anyways, if you have any questions on it, please feel free to reach out. I love chatting with my friends about this kind of stuff, and I nerd out over it. So feel free to message me. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you later.